Growing up as the youngest in the Carter family meant I was always treated like the family afterthought. While my brother Ryan got praised for every minor achievement, I was consistently dismissed as the quiet one who would never amount to much. My parents had a way of making me feel invisible, especially when it came to anything important. The pattern started early. When Ryan graduated high school with C's, they threw him a party. When I graduated valedictorian 3 years later, they said congratulations and moved on to discussing Ryan's latest job prospects. When Ryan got his first apartment, they helped him move and bought him furniture. When I bought my first house at 25, they said it was probably too much responsibility for someone my age. That house became my sanctuary. It was a modest 2-bedroom in a quiet neighborhood. Nothing flashy, but it was mine. I'd saved every penny from my government job, working extra shifts and living frugally to make the down payment. The day I got the keys, I called to share the news with my family. "You bought a house?" Mom had sounded skeptical. "Are you sure you can afford the payments?" "It's a good investment," I'd replied, trying to keep the excitement in my voice. "Investment?" Ryan had laughed in the background. "She can barely afford car insurance. This is going to end badly." Dad had taken the phone. "Honey, maybe you should have talked to us first. Houses are a big responsibility. What if something breaks? What if you lose your job?" I'd hung up, feeling deflated. Even my biggest achievement was treated like a mistake waiting to happen. Over the next few years, the house became a source of ongoing family commentary. Every family gathering included some reference to my expensive mistake or questions about whether I was keeping up with the payments. Ryan particularly enjoyed making jokes about my mortgage chains and how I was tied down to a depreciating asset. "Smart people rent," he'd announced at family dinners. Emily stuck with that house whether she likes it or not. The comment stung, but I'd learned not to react. I just smiled and changed the subject. Meanwhile, Ryan bounced between jobs and apartments, always asking our parents for money to cover rent or security deposits. But somehow, his financial instability was seen as exploring options, while my stable home ownership was viewed as limiting myself. The real problem started last summer when I accepted a temporary assignment overseas. The government position required me to spend 6 months in Eastern Europe working on what I could only describe to my family as administrative oversight. The details were classified, but the work was important and the pay was excellent. Before leaving, I made all the arrangements for my house. I set up automatic payments for utilities, arranged for lawn care, and installed a comprehensive security system. I also gave my parents emergency contact information and a spare key purely for genuine emergencies like burst pipes or break-ins just in case something catastrophic happened. I'd explained during the handover. Otherwise, the house should take care of itself. Ryan had rolled his eyes. "Look at her preparing for her little house like it's a historic landmark." "It's just a basic suburban house, Emily. A basic house she can't really afford," Mom had added with a sigh. I'd bitten my tongue and finished the security briefing. Before boarding my flight, I'd reminded them one more time that the key was only for emergencies. The work overseas was intense and consuming. I was deep in financial investigations that required my complete attention, tracking complex networks that crossed multiple countries. The days were long and communication with home was limited due to security protocols. I'd managed to check in with my family a few times, brief conversations where everyone assured me everything was fine. House is still standing. No disasters. Ryan had joked. I'd relaxed, focusing on my work. The investigation was reaching a critical phase, and I was coordinating with international law enforcement on several high-priority cases. My expertise in financial crimes had made me an essential part of the team, and the work was some of the most important of my career. The assignment was supposed to end in March, but complications arose that required my expertise for an additional month. I'd sent a message to my family explaining the extension, and everyone seemed fine with the news. "Take all the time you need," Dad had written back. "We're managing everything here." What I didn't know was that Ryan had been watching my house for months, noticing that I never returned, never visited, never seemed to check on the property. In his mind, this confirmed what he'd always believed. I was in over my head, probably struggling financially and too proud to admit I needed help. The first sign of trouble came through my secure communication channel. My supervisor pulled me aside during what was supposed to be my final week overseas. "We've got an unusual situation," Agent Daniels had said, holding a classified report. "There's been some activity at your registered address. Nothing threatening, but it's flagged in our monitoring systems." My blood ran cold. What kind of activity? Property transaction. Someone filed paperwork claiming ownership transfer. It's probably nothing, but given your security clearance and current assignment, we need to investigate any irregularities. I'd stared at the report, not understanding. That's impossible. I own that house. There's no transaction. That's why it's flagged as suspicious. Real estate fraud is sometimes used to compromise federal employees. We're treating this as a potential security threat until we know more. The flight home was a nightmare. I couldn't contact my family due to operational security, and I couldn't get details about what had happened. Someone had filed paperwork claiming they'd purchased my property, and federal investigators were now involved. I landed on a Tuesday morning and drove straight home. The house looked normal from the outside, but there was a lockbox on the front door and a sold sign on the lawn. My key didn't work. My hands shaking, I called the number on the real estate sign. "Carter Property Services." A cheerful voice answered. "This is Emily Carter. Someone put a sold sign on my house, and I need to know what's happening." There was a pause. "Oh, you must be the sister. Ryan told us you might call. He explained that you'd been struggling with the payments and finally agreed to let him handle the sale. Congratulations on getting out from under that mortgage." My stomach dropped. "Ryan Carter is my brother, and he doesn't own this house." "I do, ma'am. I have all the paperwork right here." Ryan Carter presented power of attorney documents and a deed showing his ownership. "He said you'd been overseas and unable to handle the transaction yourself. The sale closed last week." I hung up and immediately called my parents' house. "Emily, Mom sounded genuinely happy to hear from me. You're back. How was your trip? Where's Ryan? I need to talk to him right now." "He's here. We're actually having a little celebration dinner. Ryan made such a smart business decision, and we're so proud of him. Put him on the phone now." Ryan's voice came through cocky and amused. "Hey sis, welcome back to reality. What did you do to my house?" "I solved your problem. You were clearly in over your head, gone for months, probably behind on payments. I found a buyer, handled the paperwork, and got you out of that financial mess. You should be thanking me. That wasn't your house to sell." "Emily, honey." Dad's voice cut in on speakerphone. "Ryan showed us all the financial documents. You were 3 months behind on payments. The bank was starting foreclosure proceedings." I felt like I was losing my mind. Your credit rating. "That's impossible. All my payments are automatic. I haven't missed a single payment in 3 years." "The bank records don't lie," Ryan said smugly. "Look, I know this is embarrassing, but I handled it quietly. The buyer was willing to take over the debt and pay you a small amount to walk away. You actually made $15,000 after all the fees." "Where's my $15,000? I deposited it in your account minus the money you owed me for handling everything." "But that's not the point. The point is you're free now. No more house payments you couldn't afford." I was hyperventilating. "Ryan, I need you to listen very carefully. I never missed a payment. I never gave you permission to sell my house. And I never signed any power of attorney." "Emily, we have your signature on all the documents," Mom interjected gently. "Maybe the stress of that job overseas affected your memory." That's when I realized what had happened. Ryan had forged my signature, probably using documents he'd seen over the years. He'd somehow convinced a real estate agent and a title company that he had the right to sell my house. And my family believed his story about missed payments. But what Ryan didn't know, what none of them knew, was that my house wasn't just any property. Due to my security clearance and the sensitive nature of my work, I'd been required to register my address with federal authorities. My property was monitored as part of national security protocols, and any unauthorized transactions would trigger immediate investigation. "I need to come over," I said quietly. "We need to discuss this in person." "Of course," Dad said warmly. "Come celebrate with us. Ryan's already talking about investing your portion in his new business venture." I drove to my childhood home in a daze. The familiar living room was decorated like a party, with a "Congratulations Ryan" banner hanging in Dad's recliner, telling the story of how he'd rescued me from financial disaster. And the best part, Ryan was saying as I walked in, is that she doesn't have to worry about property taxes or maintenance anymore. I basically gave her back her freedom. There she is. Mom hugged me tightly. "We're so proud of Ryan for looking out for you." I looked around the room at my family's happy faces. They genuinely believed Ryan had done something wonderful. In their minds, I was the irresponsible younger sister who'd gotten in over her head, and Ryan was the hero who'd cleaned up my mess. "Tell me exactly what happened," I said, sitting down across from Ryan. "It's pretty simple," Ryan began, clearly enjoying the attention. "I noticed you never came back to check on the house. Neighbors mentioned they hadn't seen you in months. I drove by and saw the lawn was getting overgrown despite the service. Mail was piling up despite forwarding, and the place looked abandoned. So, I did some digging," he continued proudly. "Called the mortgage company, pretending to be worried about my sister. They confirmed you were behind on payments. 3 months, Emily. 3 full months. This was impossible. I knew my automatic payments were working. I checked my accounts regularly, even from overseas. So, I went to the bank," Ryan continued. Explained the situation. "They said foreclosure proceedings had started and the property would go to auction within 60 days. That's when I knew I had to step in." "How did you get the legal right to sell?" I asked carefully. Ryan pulled out a folder of documents. "Power of attorney. Lucky thing you signed this before you left for your mysterious job." He handed me a document with my signature at the bottom. The signature looked perfect. Too perfect. Ryan had always been good at forgery, a skill he'd used in high school to sign his own report cards. "I don't remember signing this," Ryan said confidently. "You said it was in case of emergencies. Don't you remember? You were really stressed about leaving the house." The room full of family members nodded sympathetically. In their version of events, I'd been overwhelmed and Ryan had stepped up to help. "The buyer was great," Ryan continued. "A nice young couple, first-time homeowners. They were pre-approved for the full amount and willing to close quickly. Honestly, Emily, you should see how happy they are. They're planning to start a family in your old house." "And you handled all the paperwork?" I asked. "Everything. Title transfer, mortgage payoff, even coordinated with a real estate agent. I saved you thousands in commission by finding the buyers myself." Ryan was beaming with pride. "Sold your little house for $300,000, he announced dramatically, clearly having practiced this moment. The family burst into applause. Finally making smart decisions. Mom cheered. I said nothing and smiled, my mind racing. Ryan had no idea what he'd actually done. He thought he'd sold a simple suburban house, but he'd actually illegally transferred federal property under active security monitoring. My phone buzzed with a secure message. "Agent Daniels, need immediate debrief. Federal crime reported at your address. Are you secure?" I typed back, "Secure. Family gathering. We'll call within hour. Everything okay?" Dad asked, noticing my phone. "Just work," I said calmly. "Ryan, can you tell me the buyers' names? I want to send them a welcome card." "Ethan and Lily Turner," Ryan said proudly. "Sweet couple, probably mid-20s. They're so excited about their first house." My phone buzzed again. This time it was an unknown number. "Hello, is this Emily Carter?" The voice was panicked, almost screaming. "Yes, who is this?" "This is Thomas Reed from Reed and Associates Law Firm. We represented the Turner family in the privacy of your property. What can I help you with, Mr. Reed?" "Why are FBI agents at our office?" he shouted into the phone. "They have a warrant for all documents related to the Carter property sale. They're saying the transaction was fraudulent and potentially involves national security violations." I could hear the family in the living room still laughing and celebrating Ryan's business success. "Mr. Reed, I need you to listen carefully," I said quietly. "I never authorized the sale of my house. My brother forged my signature and illegally transferred federal property." "What?" "But he had power of attorney documents. He had your signature. Those documents are forged. The signature is fake. And Mr. Reed, my property is registered with federal authorities due to my security clearance. Any unauthorized transaction triggers an automatic investigation. There was silence on the other end, then the sound of papers rustling frantically. "Oh God," Reed whispered. "The FBI agents are asking about wire fraud, identity theft, and something about federal property protection statutes. They want to know if we verified the power of attorney documents. Did you? We accepted them in good faith. Your brother seemed legitimate, and the signature looked authentic." I could hear shouting in the background of Reed's office. "Mr. Reed, I need to ask you something important. Are the Turner family in your office right now?" "Yes, they're here trying to understand why federal agents are confiscating all their closing documents. Tell them I'm very sorry, but they were victims of fraud. The sale was illegal, and they need to cooperate fully with the federal investigation. But they spent their life savings. They took out a mortgage. They've already moved in. The FBI will handle the financial recovery process. Right now, everyone needs to focus on cooperating with back to the living room where Ryan was still holding court." "Who is that?" Mom asked. "The buyer's lawyer," I said calmly. Ryan perked up with interest. "Everything okay? No problems with the closing, I hope." I sat down and looked at my brother. "Ryan, I need you to understand something very important. My house wasn't just any property. Due to my job and security clearance, it's registered with federal authorities. Any unauthorized transaction triggers automatic investigation." Ryan laughed. "Come on, Emily. It's just a regular house in a regular neighborhood. Don't be so dramatic. The FBI is currently confiscating all documents related to the sale," I said quietly. "They're treating this as wire fraud, identity theft, and illegal transfer of federal property." The room went silent. "That's ridiculous," Dad said after a moment. "Ryan was helping you out of a bad situation." "There was no bad situation. I never missed a payment. I never signed a power of attorney, and I never gave anyone permission to sell my house." Ryan's confidence was starting to crack. "But the bank confirmed you were behind on payments." "Ryan, did you actually speak to my mortgage company, or did you call a different number?" His face went pale. "I called the number I found online." "What name did you give them?" I said I was Ryan Carter, Emily's brother, and I was concerned about her property. I nodded slowly. "And they gave you detailed financial information about my mortgage over the phone based on nothing more than sharing my last name?" The room was getting uncomfortable. Family members were starting to look confused. "The signature on the power of attorney," I continued. "Can you tell me when and where I supposedly signed it?" "The day before you left. In your kitchen." "Ryan, I left from the airport directly from my office. I never went home that day, and I certainly never signed any legal documents giving you control of Agent Daniels." "Excuse me," I said, stepping onto the back porch. "This is Emily Carter. Agent Carter, we need you to come in immediately. We've got a federal crime scene at your property address, and we need your full debrief on the security implications. My brother is here with my family. He believes he was helping me by selling the house. Your brother committed wire fraud, identity theft, and illegal transfer of federal property. The buyers are victims. The real estate professionals are potential accomplices. And your family property is now evidence in a federal investigation. What happens next? We're executing arrest warrants within the hour. Your brother needs to be taken into custody before he has a chance to destroy evidence or flee. Can you keep him at your current location? He doesn't know he's committed a crime. He thinks he was helping me. Agent Carter, your brother forged federal documents and illegally transferred government-monitored property. His intentions are irrelevant to the charges." I hung up and walked back inside. The mood in the living room had shifted. Ryan was frantically looking through his folder of documents, and my parents were asking questions he couldn't answer. "Emily," Mom said when I sat down, "Ryan says the mortgage company told him you were behind on payments, but he can't remember exactly who he spoke to or when. And the power of attorney," Dad added. "Ryan says you signed it in your kitchen, but you said you left from your office." Ryan was sweating now. "Look, maybe I'm remembering some details wrong, but the important thing is I helped Emily get out of a bad situation." "What bad situation?" I asked gently. "My mortgage payments were automatic and current. I never asked for help. And I certainly never signed any documents giving you legal control of my property." But the foreclosure notices Ryan started. I saw them in your mailbox, Emily. I had mail forwarding set up before I left. All my mail was being sent to a secure federal facility. There was no mail in my mailbox. The room was silent except for the sound of Ryan's papers rustling as he frantically searched through the documents. Maybe there was some confusion, Mom said hopefully. Maybe Ryan misunderstood the situation but was trying to help. The problem, I said carefully, is that Ryan forged my signature on legal documents and illegally sold federal property. Even if his intentions were good, those are serious federal crimes. Ryan stood up suddenly. This is insane. It's just a house, a regular house in suburbia. There's nothing federal about it. My security clearance requires registration of my primary residence with federal authorities, I explained. Any unauthorized transaction triggers automatic investigation. Security clearance for what? Dad asked. You said you worked in administrative oversight. I looked around the room at my family's confused faces. I work in financial crimes investigation, international money laundering, terrorism funding, organized crime networks. My property is monitored as part of national security protocols. Ryan sat down hard. You're serious? The buyer's lawyer just called because FBI agents are confiscating all closing documents. The buyer spent their life savings on a house they can't legally own because the sale was fraudulent. But I have power of attorney, Ryan said weakly. You forged power of attorney. The signature is fake. Ryan, we both know you've always been good at copying signatures. My phone buzzed with another secure message. Federal agents en route, 10 minutes. I looked at Ryan, who was starting to understand the magnitude of what he'd done. Ryan, federal agents are going to wire fraud, identity theft, and illegal transfer of federal property. You need to cooperate fully and get a lawyer immediately. Arrest? Mom gasped. But he was trying to help. Mom, Ryan forged my signature and illegally sold my house. The fact that he thought he was helping doesn't change the crimes he committed. Ryan was staring at the documents in his folder, probably seeing them clearly for the first time. The forged power of attorney, the fake mortgage default notices he'd created to justify his actions, the identity theft he'd committed by impersonating me to the buyers. I didn't mean for this to happen, he whispered. I know, I said gently, but it did happen. You stole a $300,000 asset and sold it without permission. That's a federal crime regardless of your intentions. Car doors slammed outside. Through the front window, I could see unmarked black SUVs pulling into the driveway. Emily Carter, a voice called from the front door. In here, I called back. Four FBI agents entered the living room, badges displayed. Agent Daniels nodded at me professionally. Agent Carter, he said formally. Is this the subject? I looked at Ryan, who had gone completely pale. This is my brother, Ryan Carter. He's the one who forged the documents and executed the illegal property transfer. Ryan Carter, Agent Daniels announced, you're under arrest for wire fraud, identity theft, and illegal transfer of federal property. The handcuffs clicked shut around Ryan's wrists as the agents read him his rights. My parents were crying, asking if this was really necessary. Ma'am, Agent Daniels explained to my mother, your son committed multiple federal felonies. He forged government documents and illegally transferred property under federal monitoring. This is a national security issue. As they led Ryan to the car, he looked back at me with a mixture of confusion and betrayal. I know, I replied, but you committed serious crimes in the process. The house was silent after the agents left. My parents sat on the couch in shock. Mom's hands trembled as she held a cup of untouched tea. Dad stared at the wall, not saying a word. I can't believe this, Mom whispered finally. Ryan would never. He did, I said softly. I wish it weren't true, but the evidence is overwhelming. But he thought he was helping you, Dad said, his voice breaking. He's always been impulsive, but he's not a criminal. He committed multiple felonies, I said gently. He forged legal documents, impersonated me, and transferred property that was federally registered. Intent doesn't erase the crime. They didn't respond. The shock was setting in. I stayed with them that night, mostly to make sure they didn't do anything irrational like calling a lawyer who might interfere with the investigation. The next morning, I met with Agent Daniels at the field office downtown. He spread several files across the table, documents, photos, copies of the forged paperwork. "Your brother's forgery was impressive," he said. "If it weren't for the federal registration flag, it might have gone unnoticed for months." He's always had a talent for copying handwriting, I admitted. He used to sign report cards in high school. Unfortunately, that talent escalated into a serious crime, Daniels said grimly. "We're charging him with multiple counts: wire fraud, identity theft, falsification of federal records, and fraudulent property transfer." I stared at the photos of my own forged signature, perfectly replicated on every line. "What happens to the Turners?" I asked. "They're victims," Daniels replied. "They'll be compensated through the federal restitution program. The sale is being voided, and the property will revert to you after the court proceedings." They were so excited to start their life there. "We've arranged temporary housing for them until the legal process is complete." He closed the file and looked at me. "You handled this well, Agent Carter. I know it's personal, but you followed protocol exactly." "I just wish it hadn't come to this," I said. "He's my brother." "I understand," Daniels said kindly. "But sometimes family members make choices that force consequences. You didn't put him in this position, he did." The next few weeks were a blur of hearings, interviews, and legal paperwork. Ryan was released on bail pending trial. He refused to speak to me directly, communicating only through his lawyer. My parents were devastated, but still clung to the belief that it was all a misunderstanding. When the trial began, the prosecution laid out everything in painstaking detail. The forged power of attorney. The fake foreclosure notices Ryan had printed using templates he found online. The phone calls he'd made impersonating me to the mortgage company and title agency. The falsified emails where he posed as me to approve the sale. And the forged wire transfer authorization that directed the $15,000 profit into his personal account. Ryan sat there in a suit, looking small and lost. He avoided my eyes. When I testified, I kept my composure as best I could. I described how I'd arranged everything before leaving the country, how the house was secure and payments were automatic. I showed proof of every transaction, every bank statement, every correspondence confirming that I was never behind. Ryan's defense attorney tried to argue that he'd been misled, that he believed he was helping his sister under stressful circumstances. The judge wasn't swayed. Belief does not excuse forgery, fraud, or federal property violations, the judge said sternly. The verdict was inevitable. Ryan was found guilty. I sat in the back of the courtroom while the judge read the charges aloud. Wire fraud, identity theft, forgery of federal documents, illegal transfer of government-registered property. Ryan looked like a ghost. His lawyer argued for leniency, citing his lack of criminal history and his claim that he acted out of concern, not greed. But the judge wasn't moved. "You deliberately impersonated your sister, forged her signature, and executed a sale that compromised federal security systems," the judge said. "You may not have intended national consequences, but your actions endangered sensitive operations." Ryan was sentenced to 5 years in federal prison, with the possibility of parole after 3. My parents cried openly as the bailiffs led him away. I didn't cry. I'd already done my grieving. The weeks that followed were painfully quiet. My parents couldn't look at me without guilt in their eyes, guilt for having doubted me, for believing Ryan's lies, for raising 2 children so differently. They visited Ryan every few weeks and told me he was trying to adjust. I didn't visit. Not yet. My house was officially returned to me after the court voided the fraudulent sale. The Turners were kind and gracious despite everything that had happened. When I met them to thank them for their cooperation, Lily Turner smiled sadly. "You don't need to apologize, Emily," she said. "We know you didn't do anything wrong. We just wish we could have stayed in that house. It felt like home." I promised to help them find another property through a federal restitution program, and I made sure they received every penny they were owed. When I finally walked back into my own house, it felt different. The furniture was gone, the walls bare, echoes of strangers' laughter still lingering in the air. But it was mine again, my sanctuary, my proof that I'd built something real. By one last time for a final debrief. You did everything right, he said. You reported, cooperated, and stayed professional despite the personal involvement. I don't feel like I won, I admitted. It doesn't feel like justice, it feels like loss. Justice often does, Daniel said. But you protected yourself, your property, and your integrity. That matters. After he left, I sat in the empty living room and looked at the quiet street outside. My brother had always believed I was the lucky one, the overachiever, the one who didn't need anyone's help. Maybe that's why he tried to insert himself into my life, to feel like the hero for once. But in doing so, he destroyed his own future. A few months later, I received a letter from Ryan. It was short, written in the neat block handwriting he'd learned in prison. Emily, I didn't understand what I was doing. I thought I was helping you. I thought you'd come home and thank me. I never imagined it could destroy everything. I'm sorry for what I did and for how I treated you all these years. You were always the strong one. I just wanted to prove I could do something too. I folded the letter and put it in a drawer. I didn't write back. Not yet. Sometimes, late at night, I sit on my porch and think about how fragile trust can be, how easily it can be broken by pride, jealousy, or misguided good intentions. I still love my brother, but love doesn't erase consequences. And as the years pass, my house, the one they all mocked as my mistake, still stands exactly where it did before. A quiet reminder that independence, once hard won, is worth protecting at any cost.